Hello again, everybody. Welcome back. Banish the doubt. Today, I want to talk about what we think about and how what we're thinking about is not necessarily anything that we're doing, or the majority of what we do is conscious. I want to take us on a sort of a journey, if you will, as to how we got here, how we think the way we think, and then how we can change that. And in doing so, and staying consistent with it, we absolutely can and will change the trajectory of our life from here for the rest of our life. A life where we no longer are subjugated. We're no longer at the mercy of or the whims of others and others' opinions, where we can start to live our lives authentically in a way that is pleasing to us, that we are independent of even the good opinions of others. So I want to start off here with a quote from Viktor Frankl. And now, from those of you watching who have never heard of Viktor Frankl, he survived the concentration camps in Germany in the 1940s. And he wrote a book called Man's Search for Meaning. And the quote I'm about to share with you, you might be able to read it right now over my shoulder, is a quote that I would hope that you would bring with you, laminate it, stay with you for the rest of your life. Okay? And it simply goes like this: between stimulus and response, there lies a space. In that space is our power, okay, to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. Remember this every single time you find yourself reacting to something in your life, or someone in your life, or an event in your life, okay? Recall this quote. Now, what is the best way to control and subjugate a population? It's to brainwash them into a learned state of powerlessness and make them believe that they are at the mercy of outside circumstances. So again, anything that we perceive that's taking place outside of us, be it an event, be it somebody said something to us, a spouse, an in-law, a friend, a boss, whatever it may be, remember, in between that stimulus and response is a space where we have our power exists. When we react to that situation or that person, we are saying, you are saying in that moment, you hold more power over me than I do. I am a victim of you, of this event, of this person or whatever, this opinion of me that you hold, this other person or this group of people. What is the best way to control and subjugate a population? It is by brainwashing them into a learned state of powerlessness. How many victims are out there today? Okay. And make them believe that they are at the mercy of outside circumstances. Okay. You control my life. You have more sway over me than I do. Your opinion of me matters more than my opinion of me. And I'm going to get to the root of this in this video. So hang with me. If you're brand new, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, because you're going to want to really understand this and really, let's say, bring it home. Okay. Understand these videos and others that what I've learned from. If you hang with me here and you watch this and you learn and you become disciplined, you're going to understand just how often we react to the world outside of us. And it's a learned behavior how to respond and no longer react. But it's okay every time you catch yourself. What we want to do with these videos and with these teachings and what I've learned from other great teachers out there, from the Dr. Joe Dispenzas and the Bruce Liptons and the Wayne Dyers and the Louise Hay, and the list goes on, the Tom Cairns and all those great teachers, is that In each moment of our life, we have the power to dictate how our life is going to go, not the ones who try to and for so too long have attempted to, in a lot of cases, brainwashed into believing that we are victims. No longer. Okay, so here we go. A person who doesn't believe in oneself and doesn't believe in possibility will do anything to abide by the rules laid out by the authorities. This is how the insidious mechanism of our society function. It is a complex web of lies, manipulations, and flawed indoctrination. There exists a spark of God, of source within you and within me that has been buried deep because of all of the societal conditioning you have received over the years. And I'm going to go into how this sort of came about. But understand, this is not a get even, or this is not a, it's more of an awakening. Okay, we want to start to broaden our awareness and understand that there are systems in place, have been for thousands of years, to keep you and I under the thumb or the perceived thumb of others, of authorities, that they have power over us. There is no such thing as anybody else having power over us. It's how we feel about ourselves, how we look at ourselves that gives them this perceived power. Okay? So this is really sort of a call to arms in the sense, not so much of a taking up of arms or anything like that. This is more of a call to arms for ourselves to look inward and say, okay, where have I, in my thinking, in my behaviors, given off this perception that somebody else out there, somebody else's opinion of me is more important or holds more power than my own opinion of me? Okay, so I'm going to continue moving on. Now, because of this conditioning and not knowing of this power, okay, you and I not knowing we have it, we have lived a rather mediocre life. Well, no more. Okay. Now, I would like for you to close your eyes and visualize a pyramid. Okay. Just think of a pyramid. Now, where did that pyramid come from? Okay. It's inside of your head, not outside of your body. This pyramid, right? But where in our brain do we create? How do we create images? So how do we create this? How did we create this image of a pyramid? Okay. Now our bodies are made up of 50 trillion cells. Okay. Now within those cells, there are another 50 to 100 trillion protons. That makes up our body. We could get 1 million of these, and that's probably conservative, okay, of them on the head of a pin. Just think about that. What makes up your body and my body, we could put 1 million or even more on the head of a pin, okay? Now, inside of this, these cells, this one little cell, contains everything we needed for this journey here in this on Earth, okay? The shape of our eye, the color of our skin, okay? Our height is all contained within these little dots. Okay, those little, you could barely see. You'd have to get a microscope to see it. Okay, so now an atom is what we're made of. So 50 trillion cells, and now inside these cells are atoms. Atoms, when they looked in, scientists looked inside, are 99.999999% nothing, just space, and 0.000001% matter. So we're made up of nothing, okay? And we have this minuscule amount that's actually matter. You can't even see it, the matter. The field you and I emanated from is infinite. Where we came from is absolutely infinite. There's infinite potential. Okay? There's infinite potential from this field from which you and I emanate from where we think these thoughts. Now, remember, visualizing the pyramid, okay? This spirit gives us life. This flesh, our flesh, counts for nothing. It's the spirit that gives us life. If the shape of our eye can be in an energy field that has no boundaries, no form, or no materialness to it, then why not the shape of your life? Why not the potential for your life? This is what Wayne Dyer asks. Okay? If this field has the shape of my eye and my ears and my nose and the color of my hair, I used to think the color was brown, but every so often I'm kind of wondering, like, well, why was it brown yesterday, right? Some of us thinking, why did it stay in yesterday, right? So think about that. Now, our system within us has three components to it. It has an input, a process, and an output. And then the processing part, the analyzing part, and memory, okay? Now, if we just take a neuron, this is my little description of a neuron. At the end of these neurons, they're called dendrites. Okay, the dendrite in the neuron takes in the input, takes in the information. In the middle part is called the soma. It processes the information. And at the bottom part of the neuron, an axon, it sends the information that came through the dendrites out to the body. Now I'm simplifying this here, but I want you to kind of keep this idea of input, process, and output. Okay? The memory is also involved in this as well, but just think of this right now as input. We're taking information in, process, we're analyzing it, and we're sending what we're analyzing to our body, to our cells. Think about this as well. Our immune system uses up a tremendous amounts of energy. It's why when we were sick, whenever we get sick, we will say things like, I couldn't get my head off the pillow. I was so sick, because our body uses up so much energy to fight off the immune system, to get rid of whatever's input, whatever we're sending into our body. Okay? So now this here, almost like a butterfly, is if you were to look at our spinal cord from above, you would see there's almost like a butterfly look to it. The top of it is our sensory neurons. The middle section of our spinal cord, if you looked at it from the top, is an associative neurons or process. And at the bottom, motor, output. Now again, input, process, output. The neurons, input, process, output. Our spinal cord, again, top of our spinal cord, input, sensory neurons, associative neurons in the middle, processing the information coming in, and the motor outputting, again, to the body. So we see this pattern repeating over and over again. So we'll continue now. Now, I know I'm kind of like, not I say rushing through this, but I want to just give you guys an idea of how our systems work. The brain, we have three sections of our brain. Okay, the forebrain is our input, what we bring in. The middle brain process, it analyzes, and then the hindbrain output to the body. So these are, again, the three areas: the input, the process, and the output to the body. Our eyes have three sections to it. We have the rods and cones, input, okay, what we're perceiving, what we're looking at. Our bipolar cells, okay, the neurons that investigate all the information coming in, so what we're looking at, processing, and the ganglion cells, or output, sends signals to the brain. So what we're looking at, remember, what we're seeing, what we're perceiving in our life, we're taking it in, the information, we're bringing it in, we're processing it through our eyes, and we're sending it to our brain and also the spinal cord. This information is coming in, being processed by us, and then going through the body. So we move along back into the brain. Okay? Now there's a third ventricle of the brain. The top part of that third ventricle is our pineal gland. The bottom is our pituitary gland, which is referred to as the master gland. This is the output. The pineal gland is the master input. It takes the information in. It resembles a pine cone, pineal gland. If you want to think of a pineal gland, think of a pine cone. Okay, it's a pine cone, and it inputs or brings the information from environmental information, what's going on in the environment. In the middle of the thymus and the hypothalamus is the processing, is the analyzation. So our brain, we're bringing it in, okay, from our eyes, nose, our hearing, okay, but I'm just talking about the eyes now, the touch. We process the information, send it to our brain. The brain then sends it out to our body. The thymus and hypothalamus process it, and the pituitary gland sends it out throughout the body to coordinate our functions. So again, this is just sort of a crash course into learning on how we process information and how it ultimately affects our body. Now, from going back in the days of, go back thousands of years ago, they talked about chakras. Our bodies have these chakras. There's 7 of them. So there's the crown, there's the third eye where the pineal gland is, okay? They analyze electrical magnetic signals, the pineal gland, the throat, heart, solar plexus, sacral, and the root. So this would be our body. The crown obviously being the head, and then the root being at the tip of our spinal cord. Now, the psychology part is up here, the physiological part down here, but they merge, and this is the middle part, the mind and the body and the heart. Mind, heart, and body. So this is where history, going back thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, talked about our bodies. But the interesting sort of connection with all this is that the further back in history we go, the more we start to see that those people way before us were talking about our bodies from an electrical magnetic, more of an energy based. We became more matter based years later. Most of our ancestors were born and raised into thinking we were more matter, but we're not. Quantum physics has now taken us back to understanding that no, our bodies are energy. Remember the atom, 99.99999% nothing, 0.00001% matter. Remember, we are nothing. We're more nothing than anything. And remember, the flesh counts for nothing. It's our spirit. It's what's behind us, what's in our head, what's in the field, how we're perceiving that. Go back even further, how we think, right? If we think that we're victims, then we're going to be victims. If we think that, no, we have the power within us, then we're going to start to act that way, which is what this video is sort of oriented towards. So I want to continue here. Now, Dr. Bruce Lipton talked about it this way. And a lot of what I just shared with you comes from Dr. Bruce Lipton, from our cellular standpoint in our life, in our body. Think of now this is going back before smart TVs, what have you. So if anybody's my age or around my age, you remember the old TV tubes, okay? Now it had a gun at one end of it, and the gun would then send the image, which would then eventually appear on the screen. So here's the gun, here's the information coming into the tube. It's coming through here. This is going to be the image that's eventually going to appear on the screen. But in the middle part of this tube, there are magnets. And the magnets alter the beam from the gun. So it can send it left different ways. All right? Now the magnet starts to alter what appears on the screen of our life. It alters the beam from the gun before it hits the screen. So again, we can see TV tube, input, process, magnets, and output. Input, what the pineal gland, what we're perceiving, the retina, the eyes, from our field. It's being processed, magnets being processed by us, by our thinking, and it's ultimately going to it's going to alter the picture on the screen of our life. Now, how did we get here? How does all this sort of start? How is the picture on our screen different from what we're thinking? So you and I can have a thought. We can think of this like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to get inspired. I'm going to go start to build a business. I'm going to ask that person to marry me, or I'm going to whatever it may be. I'm going to change my life. No longer I'm going to be a victim from what I talked about earlier. Enough of that. Enough of this bullshit. I'm not going to be a victim anymore. I'm going to take control of my life. We can think these thoughts, input, right? These are thoughts we're getting, but the process, analyze, it changes. It changes what we see in our life. How? So here, and again, Bruce Lipton talked about this, the Jesuit faith. So think of Fordham University. They've been teaching their followers for almost 500 years. Give me a child from birth to age 7, and I will give you the man or the woman. But actually, it goes back further than that. Bruce Lipton and other scientists have found that 3T here, in third trimester, when the fetus is in the mom's belly, third trimester until age 7 is the most formidable years of our life, of our upbringing. So from third trimester, think of a child, an infant sitting at the window, and mom is looking out, and she's looking at society. She's looking at what is this culture like, and she's providing information to this infant that has no conception. The information that mom is providing to this fetus through the umbilical cord, okay, the information, what she's seeing, is being transferred to that fetus. And if the information that mom is seeing, how her life looks, how society appears to her, is stressful, is powerlessness, is victimization, is I have to answer to authorities, I have no power, then this fetus cognitively, that brain loses 50% of its cognitive ability because of the stress, because the stress that mom is under. And what do we do when there's stress? Which, by the way, there is no stress, but I'll just for purposes of this video, I want to talk about it. What does that mean? Well, stress means fight, right? You got to be strong. You have the muscles. You got to be what is a street fighter. You got to be a street fighter, right? You've got to grind. You think of all. You got to be the dog, right? A lot of today's Sunday, so a lot of football games are on. What do a lot of these commentators talk about? Talking to young guys, right, 18 to 34. The dog in that guy out there. He's a dog. That's all stress. This is the input. This is what society is seeing. This is the input. This is when you're seeing this is how you're acting. Now, flip that over and the other side. What if at the third trimester, mom's view of the world is the opposite, is harmonious, is I have my own power. Nobody out there controls how I think. I am my own person. I am full of gratitude. I'm full of love. I'm filled with we are all connected. There is no separate. We're not separate. See, this here, Street Fighter, all that, the dog and all that stuff, that's separate. The powerlessness, right? The authorities, that's all separate. I'm not like them. We're different from them. We have to change them, right? Political parties. They're bad. They're going to destroy the world if they get elected. It's all separate. It's all this versus this, us versus them. They're no good. We're better. There's a lot of stress with that. Versus saying, I am my own person and I I no, even the good opinions of others out there towards me have no sway over me. Okay. So this is, and I'm going to a little long-winded with that, but this is the third trimester. This is what mom is seeing in the world. Okay. So now we're going to take this, and that's from third trimester to age 0. But from age 0 to age 2, we are in delta. The brain is in delta. That is when we're sleeping, when we're in a deep sleep. So that's from third trimester to age 2. This is what the baby, the infant, is, their brain is like. From age 2 to age 7, and this is delta. Okay? This is delta, and this is theta. Theta brain waves. Theta brain waves are when we're waking up in the morning and we're kind of groggy. We're not completely awake yet. And we're starting to become conscious. Okay, we're starting to understand the day a little bit. That's theta. The same going to sleep at night. When we're sort of drifting off to sleep, we're in theta. We're not quite awake, we're not quite sleeping yet. From 7 years on to about 12 is alpha brain waves, where the brain is in alpha state. That's a calm, soft consciousness. But here's the reason I'm bringing this up, because from here to here, this third trimester of 7 years, this is why the Jesuit faith said this, the conscious mind is not developed. So we're in a hypnotic state. This is when our brains are being programmed. Just like I said about mom, the fetus is getting the information from mom. Well, from here to here, the child is watching. They're observing the world. Is dad around? Is mom around? Are they together? What kind of relationship do they have? How does a woman treat a man? How does a man treat a woman? What are the rules for this family? How do we have to abide by these rules? How about the society? What are the rules for our society? And if mom and dad, right, are thinking that they're victims, that they don't have much power, then that's what the child's going to think. So this is where we are programmed, which I go back and talk about the programming, the input here. We're inputting information. Okay, we're getting the information. As we then come out of this theta brainwave and go to alpha state, from delta to theta to now to alpha, we're getting a soft consciousness. So consciousness here is starting to develop a soft consciousness. It's when we're in school and where the teachers talk about, we're starting to understand, maybe from a religious standpoint, what are they talking about? What are the rules of the school? What are the rules of the church? What's it like at school? Do you have power? Are you being bullied? Can you go to your parents? What's your relationship like? See what I'm saying? So this is how our brains are developed. And this is 90, this represents 95% of our brain. This represents 95% of how you and I act. This represents whether or not you and I see an authoritative figure and say, well, I have to go by what they say. Only 5% of our life is conscious. When I talk about the forebrain, right? That's only 5%. Then 95% of our life. Let me get to that page here. This is a subconscious. Okay, this is the conscious. 95% of our life is ruled by our subconscious. Only 5% of our day or our life is conscious. We're ruled by the 95% until we realize this. Well, how do we change that? We change it the same way it was developed. We understand that we're being ruled by the subconscious mind when you're driving your car and you're having that conversation with the boss at work, or with your sister or brother-in-law or your spouse or your mom or your dad. You see what I'm saying? Well, then who's driving the car, right? You're like, oh crap, I've been driving for the last 10 minutes. I wasn't paying it. I wasn't conscious. I wasn't paying attention. Subconscious was controlling your life. Every time you and I react to a situation, okay? Maybe take it back. Every time you and I react to a situation, between a stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response or our reaction. In our response or reaction lies our growth and our freedom. Ladies and gentlemen, this is about your freedom. This is about freeing yourself. Again, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. Okay? Up until this point in our life, what is the best way to control a subjugated population? It is to brainwash them into a learned state of powerlessness and make them believe that they are at the mercy of outside circumstances. This is how we understand we're allowing the outside circumstances to control our life. How we go about changing this is the same way it was brought into our life. I just demonstrated that with the programming. So we re-engineer this programming. If we know that, if we understand, okay, that when we're in theta, when we're in alpha, is how we were programmed when we came into this world. By the way, your parents and grandparents and great grandparents and go on, this is exactly how they were brought into their worlds. Okay? So, how do we do it? We go back. And number one, okay, so number one, we understand in each moment we have a decision. We become conscious. We start to learn to live our life more consciously. Hey, am I reacting to that? And what's going on? Why did I say that? This is why 50% of marriages end up in divorce. Because they come into the marriage, oh, they're all happy, right? They're in love. Everything's great. But then when they become married and they start living with each other, this starts to come out, right? How do we respond to a situation? And then one of the two is like, whoa, 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 where did this person come from? That wasn't the person that I was engaged to when I was in happy, happy land, right? I mean, I don't mean to make fun of it, but you see what I'm saying? So number one, we become, in each moment, we realize, wait a minute, my reaction to that was more of this, the programming from when I was a baby, from when I was an infant, from third trimester. So we become conscious. And what we do is when we wake up in the morning, we then become we become very vigilant about what goes into our brain. From the beginning in our morning, when we wake up, what are we putting into our brain? What kind of thoughts are we putting in? What are we recognizing, right? What's the input? What are we putting into our brain? And then this the magnets, right? The processing is this. It's altering what we're seeing. That's why the person can wake up in the morning, 8 o'clock, and say, "This is it. Today's the day. I'm going to make something. I'm going to do it. I'm going for that job, or I'm going to ask that guy or that girl out, or whatever it may be." Okay, and then our process, who we really think we are, right, alters that, and then the world sees, and then who we are in the output. This is who we are, and we understand then now that the world, our external world that we're talking about, is nothing more than a reflection, okay, of our innermost thoughts. this, how we see ourselves. So in the morning, we wake up, we do this. We start to say, okay, what am I going to put in my brain? What kind of thoughts do I want to put in my brain? How do I want to see myself? And we start to tell ourselves this. We start to catch ourselves on each moment. So that's the first step. The second step is when we wake up in the morning, and then in the evening when we go to sleep. What we are putting into our brain. So now, I didn't continue this. So here, the rest of our life is in delta. Delta is this, our brain waves. Okay, so when we're in delta, that's working. That's in our life. When we are in delta and we go back into alpha brain state, when we're sitting on the couch, we're kind of like we're sort of doze off. We're watching TV. We're not really paying attention. We're just sort of like zoning out, right? When we get there, then we start to realize, okay, what am I going to start putting into my brain? Because now the brain waves are slowing down. They're more receptive to what we're saying. As we go from there back into theta, when we're going to sleep and we're kind of like in that groggy, we're not really conscious, right? Because we're not, there's no consciousness here. Consciousness is going to sleep. Over here is consciousness. Okay, the 5%. Well, I have it here. The 95% is controlled by that. Here, what we're going to put into our brain. Positive thinking. How do we see ourselves? Okay. Now, one of the ways we do this is by reading books. Power of Awareness by Neville Goddard. And I want to read a portion, one little section from it to kind of give you guys an idea of what this means. Now, and I'll get to this in other videos, but I want to just give this one quote. This is very, very important for what I'm talking about here. Each day, set yourself the task of deliberately withdrawing your attention from the objective world, meaning the world of out there, what they think, what they see, the external world, and focusing it subjectively. Mine is mine. What am I doing? I have my power. I'm the one that's in control of my life. In other words, concentrate on those thoughts or moods which you deliberately determine. So this is how we do it. So when we're going to sleep at night, we're going to flush out everything that we did, any of the reactions that we had. We start to look at life and say, okay, any reactions that I had to things was the old me, the old consciousness, the old subconsciousness coming up, the old person. I'm going to flush those out. I'm going to even think about, I go, how would I have reacted or responded instead of reacted? Okay. We're going to do that here. So this is before we go to sleep, we're doing this. When we wake up in the morning, we're going to become as conscious as we can about where we're at that point. So number one, number two. Number three, we're going to affirm. We're going to get affirmations. We're going to start to look for affirmations, things that, whatever it may be that you're looking to change in your life. This, however you're watching this video and you're thinking, be it, I'll just use money, for instance. I am so happy and grateful. So I am right now, center myself here in this moment. So happy and grateful. I'll talk about gratitude here in a second. I'll close out this video with that. I am so happy and grateful now, present tense, here, this moment. Now that money comes to me, okay? I am going to the field. I'm bringing the money to me. I'm not making it. If I'm making money, I'm buying a printer somewhere, getting a whole bunch of green paint. I'm going to make money. Money is not made. Money is attracted energetically. So from the field, like I talked about, money now comes to me in increasing quantities. Notice the wording, getting more and more from multiple sources, okay, on a continuous basis. That's an affirmation. Something else you may want to think of as I am perfect health. I am my perfect weight. But notice the wording, I am, present tense, I am. So what Neville talks about here, as far as I am, he says the light is consciousness. Consciousness is one, manifesting in legions of forms or levels of consciousness. There is no one that is not all that is. For consciousness, though expressed in an infinite series of levels, is not divisional. There is no real separation or gap in consciousness. I am cannot be divided. I may conceive of myself to be a rich man or a poor man or a beggar man or a thief, but the center of my being, who I am in the middle, remains the same regardless of the concept I hold of myself. So, going back to what I talked about here in the very beginning, atoms, right? We're more nothing than we are something. The flesh counts for nothing. We are at our center, at our core, we are whatever it is we want to be. We are already that. We are just these layers, right, of societal crap, if you will, for lack of a better way of putting it, layering on top of us. But this is how we can change that. Now, just want to close out with this. One of the quickest ways to do this is to adopt an attitude of gratitude. Whatever takes place in your life, look at it from this point. I want you to start thinking of anyone's opinion of me is none of my business. Anybody else's opinion of me is none of my business. Okay. I want you to start to think of this. I am thankful for everything and everyone that comes into my life. Why? Because the people who touch our buttons, who trigger us the most in our life, ultimately are our greatest teachers. I want to be thankful for that. I want to be thankful for everything and everybody in our life. So in the morning when we wake up, we want to be grateful for everything and everyone in our life. We're going to change this concept because at our core, source energy, the field, there is nothing. Everything is pure. There's light. It's pure. So we adopt that attitude of gratitude for everything and everyone in our life and keep our focus on who we are, where we are right now in this moment. Because who you think of yourself, how you think of yourself in this moment is outpictured in your world. It could be no other way. Everything, every circumstance, every event that takes place in your life, you and I were responsible for it. These are their innermost thoughts. And I'll close it out again. Between a stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. That is the message for you folks today. Thank you so much for watching. If any of you have anything you'd like to talk about privately, you'd like to have personal coaching, go to my channel, click on the link. I'd be honored to work with you. If this is your first time watching this video, please go ahead and share it with others because more people hear these types of messages. Again, not just me. I'm just sort of a messenger carrying the same message, which has been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Go ahead and please share it because the more people see these types of videos and read these types of quotes and really start to digest this, the healthier this planet will become because the people on the planet are the planet. The healthier that we are, the healthier the planet is. Thank you so much, folks, for watching. God bless, and I'll see you the next time.